Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast here, the Cinemondo podcast. Kathy, me, talking about One Piece.
Again, we're going to do every episode of the live action. We're now on episode 6. I think it's probably one of my favorite episodes so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy.
Yeah. Oh, heavy duty. That's when you know the show's not no joke. At this point, you realize this is not a kid's show.
It gets dark.
Yeah.
It gets really dark, and you start really, like, before it almost seems like such a fantasy. You're not really worried about anybody. Nobody's going to get hurt or really hurt, you know.
Yeah.
But then you start realizing, okay, people can get really hurt.
Yeah, I know, it gets really hardcore. I mean, we did have Zoro cutting someone in half in the first episode, which was pretty cool. But this one has people we care about kind of suffering. Things are terrible are happening, and little kids in peril. And you know, I was wondering what they would do, because we covered this in our Baratier arc that we did for the anime, and I had interpreted it wrong, the island thing, when they're stranded. I interpreted it, we'll talk about this later. I had interpreted it wrong, but turns out I just by osmosis, I guess, was doing the manga version, but the anime version kind of softened it a little bit. So
yeah,
I was wondering which version they were going to go with this, and then you find when they did this, I'm like, okay, so they're doing the manga. I mean, and I love that they're doing the real source material, which is pretty great.
Well, the interesting thing is, I think in the manga, it was the hardcore version.
Yeah, it was.
And then in the anime, it was the Japanese version of the anime. It was probably the hardcore version. But then when they came to America, you know, there's a lot of little tweaks and things that happen.
You think they do that?
I think they maybe refilmed a bit of it, because
really
there's, you know, it. Should we tell what we're talking about? Yeah, let's go ahead and just spoil.
I mean, these are spoilers. We get a backstory on Sanji and Zeff. We find out like what the deal is with them, like what happened with these guys. Yeah.
And they met when Sanji was a little boy working as a chef, you know, like a chef's assistant on the ship, and Zeff was called Red Leg Zeff because his legs were always stained with the blood of all the people he's killed. And so this little kid is down in the galley working, and they get attacked, and Zeff comes in, and you see the door open, and you see these two bloody feet come in, these boots, and so he goes over and tastes something. He goes, oregano. Was it oregano?
Yes.
Something like for savages, and so little baby Sanji comes running out with a chef's knife. You know, he's like, "How dare you!" Nobody puts oregano in my food, you know. And so their first encounter is him being, you know, incensed over Zeff trying to change his recipe. But then the ship gets exploded and destroyed.
Yep.
And the two of them end up on this bizarre cauliflower-looking island, which is interesting.
That was
broccoli
cool looking,
food related. And
it looked really cool.
The shape of the broccoli island is such that you cannot get down to the water. You can't go down there and go fishing or anything.
Cave.
Yeah. So they're stranded and
on this rock. There's literally nothing. It's like there's basically a bunch of rocks. This is a huge
no plants or anything.
Oh. Yeah.
And so it looks like at the end for Zeff and young Sanji, but what happens is Zeff gives him, he's got these two bags, and he gives little Sanji this little bag, and he goes, "Here's your food." And Sanji's like, "You got more than me. How come your bag is so big?" And
he's always like, so bratty, but I mean, you know, he had a right to ask.
Yeah, but he you know, it's like he takes his food and goes to his side of the island. Zeff tells him, "Get away from me. Just get lost." And they're a sort of antagonistic relationship. He's like, I got the bigger bag because I'm bigger than you. Get lost. Go over there. Don't come back.
Don't eat it too fast.
Yeah. Make it last. And you watch that side. If you see a ship, let me know, and I'll watch this side.
Yeah.
So I love in the live action how they go, you know, it says 5 days, 5 days later, and then 10 days. I don't know how many, but it ends up going up to like 50 days later.
And everybody's looking really rough at this point.
He's like dirty, and they're just
It's like sores. He's probably getting
suffering.
scurvy and shit. Ugh.
And
He's
the little
eating
kid
moldy
that they got
bread.
to play him is really good. I thought he really did a good job of
Yeah, he did.
being just this dynamic little child actor that
Yeah.
is just suffering with this food, and you see him eating the moldy bread and
Something
little
he'd thrown away because he's like, "Oh, moldy bread, throw it out," or he's like throwing away good food
yeah,
and wasting it. Now he's willing to eat moldy bread, so he's kind of learning this weird lesson about waste all at the same time, which was sort of
yeah.
sad. Yeah,
And at the finally, I think it says 70 days or something
yeah.
crazy like that, and he's completely out of food. At one point,
Mhm.
he sees a ship out there, and then but it's nighttime, and he's jumping. He's like, "Hey, hey!" But he's just this tiny little boy on this rock, and it's like there's no way they're gonna see this little child out there.
Yeah.
So it's hopeless,
Ugh,
you know.
it's brutal.
So he runs out of food, and he picks up his knife, and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna go kill that old man and take his food. What right did he have to take more food than me?"
Yeah.
You know. So he stomps over to the other side of the island
And
and
the bag is
slashes
still full. He's like,
the
"Ah,
bag
there's still
so
food.
full.
You've been keeping it from me."
And he slashes it open, and it's
Oh.
just treasure, you know. And then he realizes, how come Zeph is still alive? And he walks around, and I'll let you take it from here.
Bleh, ooh. Well, it looks like Zeph's leg is missing, and he's like, "Wait, what?" And he looks over and he sees a rock that looks kind of bloody and meaty, like something's been cut. So I realized that Zeph has been eating his own leg to stay alive. And it was
Yeah,
like, "Holy shit, that was so dark. So dark." And it was like,
to
"Wow." And
stay
so he's kinda
alive
like,
and to
and
make
I
sure
love how
that
he
Sanji
yells
stayed
about it.
alive.
Yeah. That's right, so he let the kid have all the food, and he knew he would make the ultimate sacrifice by doing that, but I love how he's just like Sanji can't just, like, go, "You ate your own leg," like, we got it. He didn't have to say it, but that's what he did. But, and then, Zepp is just kinda, like, looking at him in this sort of tragic, sad way, and
And
it's
he's like,
just,
"Why did you do
oh,
that for me? Why did
so
you make that sacrifice for me?"
so sad. So then you kinda see why Sanji is reluctant to leave because even though Zeff is being mean to him and everything, you see why he feels like he really owes Zeff because Zeff's gave his leg just like Shanks gave his arm. They literally gave a piece of themselves to save these little kids,
Yeah.
and so you see why he kinda feels like, "I can't leave because I owe this guy," no matter how
But then
unhappy I
you
get.
also what's interesting too about this story is there's a dynamic inside this restaurant where you
Yeah,
see Zeph, like you're saying, being this hard
yeah,
taskmaster and being really unfair. But in
yeah,
the anime, and I assume the manga, there was
mhm,
a subplot involving Zeph wanting Sanji to go on and live his
yeah,
dream because he
yeah,
knows his dream is to find this
yeah,
place out there, this mythical place that's sort of a legend among chefs where all
yeah,
the different um, waters come together and there's all these different kinds of fish, you know. And we
mhm,
talked about that a little bit how in
yeah,
Japan, fish is such a huge thing,
yeah,
sushi and all the fish things that you can get. Like if you go to
mhm,
Tokyo Fish Market and all that,
yeah,
huge
yeah,
prices for a tuna. So
mhm,
that's his dream. And Zeph kind of is like, he's not going to find his dream sitting around here at this dumb
yeah,
restaurant. So that's you get the impression
yeah.
that that's why he's being a jerk and not letting him cook his
Yeah,
food because if he did, then Sanji might just want to stay there and be the chef there, but he's
that's
not
right.
letting him. So he's sort
Yeah,
of
he's trying to, in a
provoking.
way, force him out as a
Yeah,
sort of benevolent, kind of forcing him out by making his life miserable so he'll want to leave. Because he feels like he can't
right.
tell him to leave, he can't and he knows he's staying because he feels like he owes him, but he wants him to move on, like, but he
Yeah,
can't because he knows he's really too good for the restaurant, that the whole thing about him being a terrible cook is all just sort of made up, that he actually is a great
yeah.
cook. So he feels like Sanji needs to come to that realization himself and realize he's wasting his time there. So all of a sudden you realize this whole like mean gruffness was just in a way to save Sanji in a way, like again, by making him go after his
They
dream.
made that a little
It's
bit
so
more overt in the
touching.
anime, where the
Yeah.
other chefs got together and they are all
Yeah.
sort of in this plan. "This soup is terrible. Who
Well,
how
he
could you
tells
make this?"
Luffy kind of what the deal was. He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
or he needs it." So that
and then
was
he
kind of, yeah, a little
overhears
more
them
toned down.
talking in the
Yeah.
anime. He overhears them that they had
Yeah.
made this plan, and so at the end, at the anime version, he bows to Zeph and says, "You saved my life. Thank you, old man."
Yeah.
But in this one, they took it they did such a great job of condensing and
Yeah.
streamlining the story and the concept to where I was wondering if you were going to get that same emotional hit when Sanji leaves, and they
Yeah.
totally nailed it. They did such a great
Mhm.
job of them almost like pretending that they hate each other,
Yeah.
and Sanji kind of realizing, okay, I know why he was being a jackass to me. He was trying to push me out of the nest
Yeah.
and make me grow up. Is more of that sort of get on with your
Mhm.
life, and that concept of, when you get older and you leave home, there's that feeling of like, leaving your parents who
Yeah.
gave you so much and did so much for you, but you do eventually have to go and make your own life. And so there's those things again that I think are
Yeah.
built into the story of One
Yeah.
Piece so nicely. To
Yeah.
me, this was kind of like a coming of age, like, moving away from home, and you
Yeah.
have these sad mixed feelings about it. It's like you love your parents, if you're lucky, you love your parents,
Yeah.
but you do have to go out and make your dreams come true. You have
Sure.
to find your own place. And that was a beautifully done thing, the way
It really was.
Sanji is on the ship,
Yeah.
literally sailing away from
Yeah.
Zeff. He's not coming back, but he's basically
Yeah.
saying, thank you. You saved
Yeah.
my life and I
Really
owe you
sweet.
everything. And
Yep. It was so sweet.
you made me the man I
Yeah.
am today,
It
and
was
all
so
that kind of
sweet.
stuff. It was beautiful. It was very
It was
beautifully
really
done.
sweet. And then in the meantime, we have Zoro who was sliced across the chest in the last episode, so he's recovering. So he's kind of sidelined for a lot of this episode. He's like laying on a table and they're all, Luffy's kind of freaking out, like, oh, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. So they decide, let's just make a lot of good food and wake him
Yeah.
up. And so that was kind of a cute plan. And you're he's gonna come back because the guy would have killed him if he could have, and he's probably so precise, he knows the guy's gonna recover. He's just gonna knock him out for a
Yeah.
while.
He just cut him
So
bad enough to hurt him really bad, and
yes.
but then as he's walking away, he says, "I'm not gonna kill you now.
Yeah,
Go,
no,
it's not your time, you need to
yeah,
get stronger and then maybe someday come back to me," So
exactly.
he's got this honor, this swordsman's honor, the Mihawk,
That's
like the
right.
legend. And so it's almost like an honor to be defeated by Mihawk in such a way that he did not kill you. He left you alive because he appreciated your
Right.
strength and your spirit.
Yeah,
So that was kind of a cool thing. It
it
was
was
like he
cool.
was defeated, Zoro was defeated, but in an honorable
Yeah.
kind of positive way.
Like, he had to hurt him and take him out of the fight, but he didn't have to kill him for him to still have the honor, and he gave him the kudos of, like, "You're brave and you're strong. Keep
Yeah.
going." Like, in a
I
way,
want to
it's
see
almost
how
he
you
admired
progress. I
someone
want to
being
see.
close to as good as him, so he didn't wanna kill someone with that kind of talent. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
it's interesting.
it was. And then we have a few little things like, Kobe finding out that, Garp is Luffy's grandfather and trying to figure out. Then he starts having his, but I thought pirates are bad. Now you're using pirates and what's happening? Like he's having that whole like meltdown about that. And so he's finding out that, life isn't simple. So
Yeah.
that's sort of Kobe's lesson in this one. Um, but I thought this was and well, also we get a lot more Fishman action.
Yeah.
Get a little more
Arlong.
of that happening. Yeah, so that was really cool.
And
Um,
plus,
oh
Nami
yeah,
does a terrible thing. She basically
terrible.
steals the ship, when they're in all this trouble at the
Yeah,
Baratier,
what the hell? That's
it's like
right.
pretty low of her.
Yeah,
What is
she
she up
takes off.
to? She's got some kind of a deal with some
That's right.
bad men.
I also liked where the Buggy the Clown kind of comes back into the picture.
Yeah.
Like they put this bag on the table and open it. There's just his head, and he's all like, ah, just as cranky and wild as ever. Like just so
And I
it's
like
funny though. I
Sanji's
kind of
line where
missed
it's
him.
like, yeah, he's really fun.
He's
But
really funny.
I like Sanji's line where he's like, "New guy carries the head, carries the clown head."
Because it's probably just complaining the whole time while he's in there.
Yeah,
It was so funny. And I also like that they kind of like bugged Luffy's hat, and he didn't even realize it by putting the clown's ear in the band of the
right.
hat. So it's
He
basically
can
like a bug.
detach
He
his
said,
body
"Listen,
parts, so he detached his
definitely."
ear and flew his ear into
So
the hat
funny.
band on Luffy's hat. And
That was
Luffy's like,
such
"So
a
you heard everything?"
that was so funny. I thought that was such a great little plot line the way they showed
Yeah.
that. So yeah, so we wrapped up some things. We got our new crew member. We got some insight into the relationship between Zeph and Zoro, what not Zoro, Sanjay, so that it was so hardcore and heartwarming and sad and wild, like whoa, whoa, whoa. Um, and then now Nami's out of the picture. What the hell? Like she
Yeah,
takes
she
off
be
of the ship,
totally
and you're like,
betrayed her
what?
friends.
So and then Zoro, of course, kind of wakes up.
And Zoro is, yeah. But the chefs might have a way to help him, and I believe they help him in this one. He recovers in this
Yeah.
episode. They use the fish skin over the horrible cut. Zeph
Yes.
Zeph
So
was a pirate, but he also knew how to deal with injuries and things like that, which probably come up a lot with
I've
pirates.
heard that's actually a thing. I think that's
Yeah,
actually real.
it
That's so
is.
wild. Oh.
Evidently,
Um,
that was used in the olden days
and so now
instead
they
of.
have Buggy's head, and he's kind of acting like an ally too, which I think's a fun little like side thing. That'd be kind of funny. They're carrying the head around.
Well, it's like they made a deal. We'll help you find your body
Yeah.
if you help us, and
Yeah. So he's
and I have
sort of
to
an
say,
ally. You can't trust him though. He's a Buggy the Clown. So
what a fun performance by Jeff Ward, who plays
so good.
Buggy. I worked with him on a TV series called Agents of Shield a while back, and super nice guy, just really cool. And it's great to see him doing something like this, which
So
which
good.
sort of utilizes his advanced skills of
Yeah.
being an extreme type of character, which is
Yeah.
really fun.
Perfect. So
He's
good.
really fun in the role, and the idea that he has to act just from here up, during these
Yeah.
episodes, just his head sitting on a table,
Yeah. So funny. And he's so like obnoxious.
Yeah,
They put him back in the bag. Shut him up already. So I really like that. But I also, what I thought was funny is that Nami takes the ship, and they're not even like Luffy isn't even that mad. He goes, "Well, let's go find her." Like he's not even
yeah.
like, "Damn her," like,
That
dude,
she
come on.
betrayed us,
Like
and then he's like, That's not her.
no, he goes,
That's not."
let's find out why. She probably has her reasons. I'm sure it's fine. And you're
Yeah,
just like, wow, Luffy is amazing.
I know she wouldn't do it on purpose. I know she wouldn't
And we
do.
don't want her to do it. Like we okay, come on. Like you keep liking her more and more. Like first you didn't like her because she just didn't seem trustworthy and she was doing all this shady shit. And then as you get to know her better, again, these characters they're so well inhabited by the actors. You start feeling seeing
Yeah.
the vulnerability. You don't know what her trauma has been in her past. Everyone seems to have it. So you're hoping, okay, she took the ship. Maybe we'll find out more about her now. That's what I'm
But
hoping.
she is a thief,
Yeah, so you
there's
never
one.
lied about that.
I always like that one. There was one line in the anime that sort of summed up this sort of childlike approach to the
Yeah.
characters. I can't remember what it was now, but it was something where she stole something from someone, and the pirate says, "That's my treasure," and she's like, "No, it's not. It's mine. I stole it from you." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's mine. It belongs to me." And she's like,
Yep.
"Do you not understand the concept of theft? I stole it from you,
I
therefore it
stole it. It's
belongs
mine
to
now.
me now." What part of that do you not understand? I thought that was so
Possession.
funny, like
So
her
funny.
reasoning about, "I stole it from you. It's mine.
So cute.
Don't you get that?"
So unfortunately, as much as I loved it, this is probably the last of the Baratier.
Baratier.
Oh my gosh, I just don't know why I had trouble with that.
Can't you
I
speak
love it and I
French?
can't say it, Baratier. That sort of wraps up the Baratier arc so far into this. So now we're sailing into the next thing. So
Yeah, we're sailing away from the Baratier, and I think they're on Sanji's little boat or so. No, they're what happened at the end of that episode? What was when Sanji goes with them? I can't
mm,
remember now how that ends, but he is on the
I
deck.
don't know.
I thought he was on the deck of a ship as they're sailing away.
Yeah, I
But
forget what ship they're in.
yeah,
I don't
so
remember how
maybe
that works.
Sanji had a ship. Did he have a ship or something? Anyway, it shows how much I'm
Oh God, we'll just
missing.
cut this part.
Yeah.
So yeah, now they're gonna go on the search for Nami, and then he's got one more person added to his crew. Sanjay's on his way, and he's gonna cook all this great food. I don't know where they get the ingredients, but he can whip up something out of nothing. So I'm
Yeah,
all
he
for it.
said you'd be surprised at what I can make with limited.
I
He
know.
says that later in another episode. What I can make with the limited pantry.
I love that. So they're out to find her, and hopefully next episode they will because they do need a woman with the crew.
Yeah, and she can fight and all that kind of stuff.
She
So
can
she belongs
fight.
on the crew. She's also
She's a
their navigator.
navigator. Yes,
Yeah.
they need a navigator. So I think another solid episode. I loved it mostly because I love that Zeff and Sanjay backstory was so well done. I mean, it's almost no dialogue. Like, it was very minimal dialogue. It's probably a 10-minute sequence of this of like just atmosphere and
Yes.
observation and just a
That
hell
island
of an
sequence was
ending.
great. Yeah.
So love that, and just that in general is great. So I loved it.
This is a
So-
powerful episode. Very fun.
It was. All right, so join us for the next episode coming soon, episode 7. We only have 2 more left.
Going for
I
number
wish it wasn't
7.
over. Also, the
I
other
know.
good news is it's been renewed for season 2 already, which is fast for something like this. But they apparently it was the highest rated and best reviewed series Netflix has ever had. That's insane. So
hopefully Netflix will come to their ethical senses and make some good deals with the writers during this writer's strike. There's a lot of that still going on right now.
Needs to end. And I'm hoping that, a lot of times when things become a big hit, like a season 1, like the Netflix kind of stays out of it. You can tell a lot of creative control that these showrunners had over this.
Yeah.
You hope they don't get too involved and start changing anything, because just let the writers do what they do and pay them enough. Let the actors do what they do and pay them. Just let it happen and don't worry to it. Trust your showrunners and your creatives.
Respect the creatives. Respect them.
That's right. So see you in the next episode review.
Bye everybody.